Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you're in the right place to get the sizzling subjects, trending topics, and great conversations. Happy Pride to you, and especially you. Yes, it is Pride Month, ladies and gentlemen, and it is also Black Music Month. And today we are talking to one of the icons in the music arena, an opera singer. And this is one of the questions that I had as you were saying that you were an opera singer. I said, well, wait, he grew up in Detroit. That ain't what you're supposed to be when you grew up in Detroit. You're supposed to be over there doo-wopping over there at Motown. So how did you leap from Detroit, the doo-wop capital, the Motor City, Motown's capital, to becoming an opera singer? Because that's an interesting contrast to say that you're in that area.
So the choir director at Renaissance, Nina Scott, did everything. When I tell you, we did opera, we did classical, we did gospel, we did spirituals and everything. So when I got to Morehouse, and I was like, what is this classical voice thing? I didn't know what that was. I was introduced to opera, and I absolutely loved it. Mm-hmm. Just, I think the whole grandness of the whole thing, how you come on stage and it's a whole different world.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I even sang with the Atlanta Opera chorus for several years. Mm-hmm. I loved it. It was like so surreal. Like, I come on stage and then all of a sudden I'm accounting all these people, are my servants and stuff. It was an amazing opportunity. But if it wasn't for my choir director in high school, I wouldn't even have ever been really introduced to classical music at all.
Do you sing at home? Is it something that's still a part of you? I know you don't sing publicly, but is it still something that you do for recreation, for yourself?
So,
I just hate to know that a gift is just not being used, honey. Like, what's up?
One of my friends the other day said, nobody would even know you have music degrees, because I have 5 music degrees.
Wow.
Because music is just not always present. My godmother, she has a doctorate in piano. She lives in Augusta. Rosalind Floyd, and we always laugh because music is so present all the time that usually at home it's dead silent.
Wow.
Because even now with what I do, my creatives are always producing, and it's a lot to take in. So usually if you're at my house, there's only 2 lamps on, and the TV's usually on mute.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Yeah, totally opposite. You can't come to my house. Yeah, you can't you couldn't come to my house. Music is always on. Now, there was a shift at some point where you said the performing thing just wasn't what you liked doing, even though you were good at it. Still strikes me as strange. But hey, and then you said you switched and like being behind the scenes, and that has brought you to this new part of, well, maybe not new to me, but this new part where you've been supporting other artists in the area. Talk about that part of the RWYN experience.
Okay, so when I finished undergrad, I went to work for the Atlanta Symphony. I was in administration. The then president, I had a conversation with her. I was like, I think I still want to perform. I'm not sure. She was like, go try it out now. And so you don't like it, you can always come back. Well, while I was in Boston is when I realized I did not like it.
Okay.
So I took a position at the Florida Orchestra, and I moved to Tampa. Mm-hmm. And I was over all the education and community outreach programs. And I was like, I really like this behind-the-scenes stuff. I'm still involved in the music world, but I'm not on the stage, and I love it. Okay. And it uses all the skills I enjoy, like working with people, building community, contracts, all the paper. Like I like all the business of the world. I started doing artist management then. But a lot of stuff happened. I mean, I moved all over and had relationships that failed. But I recently, 2 years ago, said I want to pick this back up because I had still been helping a couple of my friends who are artists. Just one of them was like, I really should be paying you. And I thought about it. I was like, yeah, you really should. And I picked it up a couple of years ago. And, it's funny when God shifts you back where you're supposed to be. Mm-hmm. Because in 2 years, the company has grown like huge. Much quicker than I ever expected. But yeah, so now I'm the person who manages the people. So I'm the one who does the booking and the contracts and makes sure they get paid and sicking the lawyers on people if they don't and reviewing opportunities for them. And I love it.
Wow.
Because I am helping them create their art, so the only thing they have to focus on is their art.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
I think being a facilitator is quite the skill set. But you don't just facilitate music. We talked a little bit about the man, we talked about the music, the mogul. Now I want to talk about that ministry. Now, in the commercial break, you talked a little bit about your faith walk, and you actually compared your faith walk and your faith walk and your music in that they were both things that were unlikely. So tell me, how did we get from I'm in college, I went to college to do music, I'm this educator, this well-educated professional, and then now I'm wanting to do ministry. How do we get there?
Okay, so what I was saying earlier was I didn't want to do music and I didn't want to do ministry. We always joke, those of us who have ministry credentials, that no one really wants to sign up for this. Usually, and I hate that thing, the call. I don't know who calls you, but you get pushed into it because God has work for you to do. And so I am an ordained elder at the Vision Cathedral of Atlanta here, which is, a church for everybody. Mm-hmm. And I do oversee all the ministerial training and do a lot of things with education. But it was kind of just a shift. I had always kind of functioned in the church. Mm-hmm. Even when I was younger, I was the person they put up to speak on the youth Sunday. And I was like the youth person that was at the trustee meetings. And so I'd always been involved. And then, I was Kojic. And so, we were real churched.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anytime it was open, because my spiritual father was Nathan Simmons. Icon, if you ever just go type into YouTube, might look crazy to you, but he's how I know how to pray. He's how I know how to, even when everyone else has all these opinions, to ignore them and do whatever the Lord says, which sometimes puts you out there alone.
Right. Quite often, yeah, I'm sure.
But it's because of him. And we even had conversations about, at that time, about my sexuality and some things that could and could not happen. But he was always honest, and he was always one of the people who motivated me. Even my dad passed away. I hadn't talked to him in maybe a couple of years, and he found my number and reached out. I think those are the critical things. It was a shift, and I enjoy it now. It's not without its challenges. People are wounded, and people are hurt, and a lot of, especially whatever your sexual orientation is, Black people don't do therapy a lot, so they come to church with a lot of extra wounds, and they want us in ministry to try to repair all of that. But I tell you, there are some wounds that you need to see a therapist for, and you might need to go on meds for a while, and that's fine. But you need to be a holistically healthy person. You can't just come here and shout and speak in tongues, and then you go home and trying to commit suicide all week. And so that's the hard part. The other hard part is, you can't help everybody.
Right.
Even though you want to. There's a part of your spiritual walk that you have to do the work for. I can facilitate. I can facilitate all the ministers in training who are in my program, but I can't do your work for you.
Okay.
That's your part of the process.
Wow. That's some heavy stuff. I think it's a huge. They say the call. I have always avoided the call. I'm not picking up the phone. I'm busy. Leave a voicemail, because I find that is such a huge. I don't want to be responsible for the salvation or souls of other people. That's not a burden I want to carry. And so I commend anybody in ministry who takes on that task, takes on that job to be able to do what you do, especially walking in the way that we do, LGBTQ people, because we're always thinking that I'm not worthy enough. I clearly can't be called because they've told me I'm not that person. They've told me that God doesn't even love me. So how can I stand up here and be on the pulpit? And so there's that push and pull and that struggle. Yeah, I'm not answering the phone. I can't do that.
Well, there's this literal interpretation of the Bible, and if we're going to be literal, then we shouldn't eat pork, we shouldn't wear mixed fabrics. It also says that women should never address a man unless they address them first. So if we're going to be literal, then we're going to have to be literal. But we also have to understand historical context, and most people don't ever really study the Bible. But there's one line there that says, whosoever. And if we all, and I would say the Church Universal, says that God does not make mistakes, then he made everybody who they are. And that's the whosoever. And I don't think, whether you believe that something is right or not, that any human being has the ability to discount another human being and decide whether they're saved and God loves them or not. That's not your place. Even like me and my friends, when we disagree on things, I just love you regardless. We can agree to disagree. But it's not for you to condemn people, because nothing about that is Christ-like.
I agree. I was just watching a clip of Oprah just this morning. I don't know if anybody else saw it. And there was a young lady that was talking about her, Oprah, embracing Ellen DeGeneres. She's like, well, if you embrace that, then you can't be a real Christian. And Oprah's like, hold on. My definition of Christian and your definition of Christian is different. And I'm not going to try to convince you because I just finished, she said, I just came out of the dressing room arguing with somebody about this. So it's not my job to convince you. She's like, I believe that God made everybody the way that they made them, and that's who Ellen is. And she said, I stand by that. I was like, oh. Amen. Oprah never was no punk.
Hey, she said it with a chest.
Now, since we talking about church, I'm gonna come away from the format just a little bit. Since we in church right here, right now. So I'm gonna give y'all a little bit of church. When we come back, we gonna do some other stuff. Is that all right?
Amen.
Gotta do a little church right here.
Amen.
A little bit of Byron Cage. Yeah. Somebody say amen real quick.
Amen.
Honey. It is the We Are You Morning Crew, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and for those of you who have yet to make up your mind, we are here, baby. We are loud, and some of us are queer. Yes, the one and only, the queen, Beyonce. Beyonce with Bigfreedia in the background. Now, I don't know if y'all been examining some of these words of this song, but when she said release the trade, she was speaking to a lot of y'all girls. She trying to let y'all up out of that bondage you in.
Release the trade.
Release the trade, girl. Release the trade. Let him go.
Girl, let him go, girl. Let him go.
It is the We Are You Morning Crew, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we are talking about the pride of black music. Our special guest in the studio is Mr. RWYN Woodson, and he's about to let his hair down. He got some cute hair, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Just saying. Yes.
I put my good hair on.
You put your good hair on today? Yeah, I'm glad about it. So, ladies and gentlemen, you know, as the release of Break My Soul came out and she broke the internet, that song spoke distinctly to a group of people that are duck walking and voguing, sashaying, and what do you call it, shablamming? What is it? What is Shwam. Because now that's a controversy. Let's talk about that. Now, you said you vogued back in the day, Mr. Woodson. I'm telling all your business. If the kids didn't know, they're like, what? Not the pastor?
Oh, yeah, I was a house kid at my core, yes.
What? So is it shablam? Is it a drop? Is it a dip?
Well, I mean, there's death drops, but, you know, there are 5 elements of Vogue.
Oh, let us have it. Let us have it,
okay,
sir.
Wait, now I want to know, what are your elements? Because, you know, what are your elements?
What are the elements?
Well, I know my 5 elements, but you all should just go watch Legendary.
Okay. This season was everything. Have you watched this season?
Oh, I binge everything. I'm done.
Oh, yeah. This season was everything.
And, you know, I was surprised. Keke Palmer was a really good judge. She paid attention, and she had really good critiques.
Very good critiques.
I was very impressed.
I was impressed with the season. I really was. They keep her. It was even the guest judges that came in were. Right. You could tell that they had studied the art of Vogue. At least they knew the basics.
Right. Yeah.
Leslie Jones, Kelly Rowland. Oh, I'm sorry if you haven't seen it. This is spoiler alert in 5-4. It already happened. All of those guest judges that were on the show came with the affinity and the affection and knowledge, and so they were able to judge the show. But yes. So Break My Soul got y'all breaking y'all back. But I want to talk about the music that spoke to you as a kid. I know when I was, growing up, as a young kid, music was my salvation. So a lot of songs, I found I said, oh, this is me right here. This is me in my room with my door closed and my music turned. Yes, honey, yes. Before I knew what yes, honey, yes was. I was yes, honey, yes. Mm-hmm. But what was that song for you, Mr. Woodson? What was the song where you heard it? It just gave you that carry. It just gave you that, oh, this it right here.
Okay, so it was Doom Dada, and because anytime I heard it, like, I completely shifted into this other person. Like, I tell you, it was my Sasha Fierce. This other personality, because my regular personality is so, like, type A conservative. Mm-hmm. Then there's this other side that is, like, house kid. And like that person would just snap. And sometimes like, oh my God, I'm in Walmart. Let me pull this back in.
Wow.
But yeah, that song did it for me.
Were you in a house? Were you a member of a house?
We won't discuss that, but perhaps we were, perhaps we weren't.
Well, what was the first letter of the house? Now, you don't have to tell us the house because I'm nosy like that.
Listen.
What was the first letter of the house?
I'd have to kill you, but it was a vowel.
It was a vowel. Okay. When was the house formed?
Oh, here you go. Here you go.
You really trying to get all in my business.
So the song that did it for you was Dindada.
Yes.
Now, it's been done a couple of times, but you know, I'm gonna let you have that because that was my song too back in the day. So ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna come back. We're gonna play Mr. Woodson's song and see if we can get him to Vogue real quick while we're in the studio.
Hey, let's see it.
We are celebrating the pride of Black Music Month, ladies and gentlemen, right here on the We Are You Morning Crew.
I'm your girl, Miss Sophia, holding it down right here on WERUradio, home of every music for the LGBTQI community and me. Between the hours of 2 p.m. and 6 p.m., this is Club Chit Chat. That's right. You know how we do it, honey. We're going to be talking about sports, politics, entertainment, and a little of this and a little of that. That's why we call this Club Chit Chat, baby. With the happy hour coming to you at 5 p.m. like no other happy hour you've ever experienced. So make sure you're around during our happy hour. Hey, I'm your girl, Miss Sophia, holding it down right here on WERUradio, home of urban music for the LGBTQI community and me. Come on, baby, let's ride.
It is the We Are You Morning Crew, ladies and gentlemen. I am George Daigle. You're in the right place for the sizzling subjects, trending topics, and great music, celebrating the pride of Black Music Month, ladies and gentlemen. It is the We Are You Morning Crew. I am here with the Lioness. Good morning, Lioness.
Good morning, George. How are you this fine morning?
Great, grand, and glorious, my love. And our special guest in the studio, our Woodson, baby. If y'all were to see him do that dip,
Honey.
baby, when he did that duck walk, y'all missed it. I'm trying to tell y'all.
I tell you, he let it the fuck.
Yes, and he let us have it. We're celebrating the pride of Black Music Month, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about those songs that spoke to us. When we heard those songs, we just knew. That's me. That's me right there. That's me. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Lioness, and tell us a little bit about when you heard a particular song and that song was it for you, and what was the story behind it?
Well, you know, as a trans woman, you know, there were so many influences growing up, particularly musically, you know, all of the divas, all of the things. Tina Turner was one of them, Mariah Carey was one of them, but this particular diva is not even a woman. And I was very devastated to discover this as a child. So when the music came on, I was like, you better work. And I just remember feeling this thing snatched through me, and I knew who I was. And I'm not even lying. I'm joking, but it's really true. That's I knew that I was a girl growing up, but I didn't know how it could even be possible for someone to go through a process of any kind. And so when I first saw RuPaul, I was like, that's what I am. And then when I saw her come out of it, I was like, oh no, that's not what I am. I was devastated when she came out of it the first time, but the first song that really impacted me was Work.
Wow. So when you heard that song and the electricity went through you, I was trying to say, George speaking English, take two, went through you, what were the messages that you saw when you heard with the music? The
confidence, the boldness, the strut, the thing I was already doing and didn't know I was doing when I was terrorizing them children in school. I didn't know that it was a thing. I thought it was just me. And when I saw her vibrate, I was like, yes. But it really resonated with that little queer energy in me. It made me feel like I was seen, I was heard, all of the fabulousness, all of the things, like you said, that I didn't even know I had a name for.
Wow.
It was represented in that song. And from that moment, I was like, well, I know I'm not. I'm kind of like her. I'm not sure, because I still didn't know what trans was, but I was like, this is kind of my lane.
I think this was the moment when BET was still Black Entertainment Television, and I saw the video. Actually, I was in a recording studio at the time, and we were taking a break, and that video came on, and that's when they had one of them big booty TVs, one of them big giant screen TVs, and the guy came in there. I was transfixed because I already knew what I was looking at. He came behind me, and you could tell, you know how the dogs put their heads to the side?
Trying to figure it out.
And you could see him doing that, like, and then finally I said, it's a man. And I turned back. But everybody was into that song. So not only did that resonate with the LGBTQ community, it resonated with the entire world. And now look at RuPaul now, who has become this icon. Everybody has embraced RuPaul's Drag Race. So it also goes to speak to how our culture affects everything around us. Everything that we see, from fashion to music and everything. So in homage to the RuPaul, we gonna do this because we just queening out today. It's the Pride of Black Music Month. Let's do this.
I have one thing to say. You better work, bitch.
Once upon a time, there was a princess named Sophia. Sophia became a beautiful queen. Yes, she did, child. The people were enchanted by her voice. Sophia wanted to share her voice with others, so she traveled to another kingdom called Atlanta. Sophia's voice is now heard 5 days a week on WERUradio, child. Monday through Friday, 2 until 6 p.m. Eastern. And they all lived happily ever after.
Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, it is the We Are Your Morning Crew. I am George Daigle. Happy Pride to you, and especially you, as we celebrate the Pride of Black Music Month. Our special guest in all of my insanity has been Mr. RWYN Woodson. I hope you've enjoyed yourself, sir. How are you?
I have thoroughly enjoyed myself, and I don't even feel like it's 2 hours before I start my day.
Well, there you go. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your memories, sharing my insanity today. I just don't know what the hell took over me. I think I just got caught up in the celebration. But before we go, we got a few more discussions, and then we'll get back into some music. And I think the Lioness has some questions that she wanted to ask.
Well, we've been talking a little bit this morning about all of the things that you do and all that you are. But you know what's really striking me is that you're a person with a whole personality and a whole private life, but your whole life is devoted to supporting and making sure people get to airports on time, make it to events, that they plan their events properly, that the structure is in place. So where do you have time for you?
So my personal schedule revolves around all the people I manage or all of my clients. But I take time. So I will tell everybody, this week or this weekend, I am totally unavailable unless it's a crisis. Mm-hmm. And I leave. My assistant has my work phone usually, and they know how to reach me on my personal lines. But you have to create a mandatory space for balance. Now, I didn't used to do that.
Really?
I'll be very transparent. I mean, I've had a stroke. I've had a heart attack. I have 2 terminal illnesses. So my life is unique in that most people who know me personally are surprised that I function as well as I do. But I have, in these last couple of years, created mandatory times for me. And then there's like one weekend every month I don't work at all. And if they book stuff, then you have to figure it out, I guess. But that is critical for me, just from mental health standpoint, and a physical standpoint. And then one of my clients is a mental wellness person. So the other day she could sense that I was off. She sent me this whole breathing thing to my text messaging. I said, I don't want to do this. But then I did, and I was like, this is great. But you have to create the space for you to be okay.
Mm-hmm. Now, in your artist management, there are a few LGBTQ artists. And how is that a unique situation, seeing where we are on the cusp of mainstream LGBTQ artists being a part of the mainstream? What are some of the challenges in managing those artists?
So first, my company services everybody. I have taken comfort in my LGBTQ artists saying that they felt safe with my company and felt like they would be respected and valued as artists. And so that, for me personally, speaks to what my company stands for. It is interesting because we're still breaking down doors. So, I mean, even if you look at Aaron Thomas and how he left gospel and the rebuilding of this major career, or the fact that I don't promote any of my LGBTQ artists as LGBTQ artists. I promote them as artists.
Okay.
Their personal lives have nothing to do with their artistry. Okay. If that is your focus, then that shouldn't be. Raheem, I don't discuss his relationship publicly.
Right.
If he wants to, that's on him. But I discuss his music. And so I think that is where we are that people need to see them for artists. I think that, and for lack of a better word, I think we're now at this place where we're fetishizing being LGBTQ. Like, at one point being black was the thing. Now, diversity and inclusion. Do you have something we can promote that's not the norm? I don't want anybody, I won't let anybody pimp my artist.
I know that's right.
For your own personal goals and agenda. And I'm very protective of them for that. But we are at a transition where your sexuality is not really a disqualifying criteria in a lot of genres now. I pray that at some point that transparency moves into the gospel realm. But I just will
Good luck on that.
to pray in my private prayer
So
time.
many people would have to first come out.
Right. Okay. You stepping on toes, ma'am. I hear ouches all over. I wanted to speak to that because I find myself here at We Are You Radio, which is the entire reason that I created We Are You Radio is because during Pride in 2018, I was looking for a playlist that spoke to me in some of the music that we listen to today. And as I looked around, I found that the playlists that I was looking for were void of the Diana Rosses and the RuPauls and the Robin S's and all of those artists that we just talked about that were familiar to us. And as I began to, look for it, I started discovering all of these amazing LGBTQ artists like Cakes to Killer, like Bugs Gutter, like Shea Diamond, and I don't want to continue to name names because I'm going to forget or mess up or leave someone out. But these amazing artists working in radio for the 20 plus years that I had, I knew that were just as great as a Megan Thee Stallion or a Beyonce or whoever, was popular on popular radio. But they would never get heard because of their pronouns, because of their affiliation, because of their sexuality, because of them being out. And so I created this platform to have that. And so I hear what you're saying, that we want the artists not to be identified by their sexuality, but here's the thing, and here's the difference. When we listen to a Beyonce, she talks about boy, man. She uses the pronouns that work for her. And as an LGBTQ artist, when you speak about your love, then the freedom of being able to say, I love him, is where the road kind of divides in not wanting to be identified as an LGBTQ artist, but in order to be truly the artist that you are, the artist that you are, these things happen. So it is that mass radio is not going to play that because most people don't want to hear your truth. So respect it that these artists don't want to be known as LGBTQ artists, but when somebody listens to their record and they're living in their humanity and living in their truth, are they not going to be seen at that? And that's a conversation, and definitely not an argument, but definitely a conversation.
I love, I have a doctorate in education, so I love a good discourse. So let me qualify by saying I don't want that to be any of my artists' sole qualifier. Okay. In an exclusatory manner. So I don't hide it. I mean, you can't really hide it. Right. Most of them are relationships. But I don't want that to be the sole identifier that people use when determining whether they should be included or not at the table. And I think that is the challenge. And I think it's even a black thing. That's a black artist, Well, for people to be mainstream, that is a proponent of who they are. But no individual characteristic is solely who a person is. Gotcha. And so that is the standpoint from which I come. I don't think none of my artists are in the closet, the ones who are members of the LGBTQ community. But what we don't lead with is that. Okay. Because just like if you were a white artist, I wouldn't, and you were with my company, I don't go to people like, I have this white artist that would love to be on your show. We can't get away from the fact they're white because you see it. And so I don't use any characteristic that would disqualify somebody as the lead to the table. Gotcha. But it's not a secret. I mean, when Aaron was on the show, he was talking about his relationship. And he's been very transparent about why things shifted in his career. I mean, it was a very public thing. So I don't think we can exclude it. But I also want all of the young LGBTQ people to realize that you are also more than that. And my challenge with this current generation is they have gotten so focused on being gay or being whatever they're labeled as that they diminish the lights of their totality. You can be smart and feminine. You can be smart and masculine. You can be smart, and every LGBTQ person is not, for lack of a better, fishy. Like, you don't have to fit in a mold because somebody has told you this is what you're supposed to be. That we are all proponents of all of us. Like, I can be a minister and manage people who sing rap and cuss. That does not disqualify me for anything that I'm doing in my life. And I think that's the standpoint I always come from. That I want everyone to represent their wholeness at the table at all times.
Wow. I get you. I get it. Now, before we leave, a few more minutes in the show, we were talking about the songs that speak to us. Yeah. And we were trying to dig in your playlist over there. And he wouldn't let us look at his phone, ladies and gentlemen.
No, I don't let people in my phone.
He wouldn't let me look at the phone. Wouldn't let us look at the phone. But we were trying to find
what's
out
going on in there.
Right. He was like, I wish you would. I wish you would.
As Aaron Thomas says, single people do single things.
That part.
That entire part. And I just want you to know that Mr. Woodson is not a miniature man. So if he decides you are not looking at his phone, you are not.
Not looking at his phone. We're not wrestling.
You're not looking at his phone. But there was some songs on your playlist that you were sharing with us, and there was one in particular that you said you were listening to on the way here. Why is it one of your favorites? And tell us a little bit about it.
So I listed two songs over here. One was Options by Aaron Thomas, and the other was Happy by Raheem. I have been just overwhelmed lately, just completely and totally overwhelmed. And I need music that's going to shift me out of that. Unfortunately, most people, when they're depressed, they listen to depressed music, and when they're happy, they listen to happy music. But it just keeps you depressed.
Right, yeah.
So I try to reverse it. I need something upbeat and interject that's going to help me move. And both of those songs do that, and they have really positive messages. They're like, you can be you, and you can be happy, and you can be fine, and it's going to be okay.
Right.
And I mean, I will also plug that, I manage both of the artists. So.
Oh, but that good. Yeah.
Oh, I caught it. I was like, yeah.
We understand.
Come
we
on,
understand, sir. At the end of the day, you got to bring it back to the house. I get it. I get it. Thank you so much for being here, playing with us today, being a part of the show. And anytime you want to come on, any one of the artists that you want to have come on the show, please do so. Any last words or anything that you want to add?
I just want to say thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing all of who you are, the man, the mentor, the minister, and the amazing individual. And your energy is amazing. And this is our second time having you at the studio. But today, this conversation was very enlightening, and I thank you.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you all so much for having me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get on up and get on out of here. It has been fun. Remember, go out there, respect one another. It costs you absolutely nothing. Remember, I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. We up out of here, and we're going to leave you with more great music from the one and only Raheem Brazil with Happy. It's all right here. It's been the We Are You Morning Crew. Bye, y'all.
Got another one. I've been feeling so happy. I've been feeling so happy. Got me feeling so happy. I've been feeling so happy.
Download the WERUradio app.
Turn it up loud.
Use the shout out feature to talk directly to your favorite station. It's available on your app store. Search WERUradio, one word, today.